I don't know about you, but for the last year or so, my YouTube homepage has been filled with videos telling me why I need a home server. And it definitely worked on me. I've ripped my entire physical collection of movies and TV shows, and now I stream them all through Jellyfin. I have security cameras running offline in my apartment through Frigate, and I've even turned some of my regular appliances into smart home stuff with Home Assistant. But something that rarely gets touched on in these home lab videos is what it can do for your video game library. At this point, I've modded pretty much every console I own to run digital backups of my physical games, which means with every new console I mod, they need their own flash drive, SD card, hard drive, or sometimes even an SSD. Not only does that mean I have to source another one of those drives for each of these consoles, it also means I have to wait for all of my ROMs to transfer from my computer to the new drive before I can get my game files up and running. But if I already have all of my ROMs backed up onto my server, I could just connect my consoles to the network and run all my games off of my NAS, right? Yes and no. The answer is honestly a little more complicated than I initially thought, but for this video, I at least attempted to connect all of my modded consoles to my home server to see if it was as worth it as I was hoping. And if you're a PC gamer or an emulation enthusiast, don't worry, I got you covered too. My server isn't probably what you think it is. It's a used Dell Optiplex that sits under my dirty clothes basket in my closet. At first, I only spent like $100 on it, but I've since upgraded it from 8 gigs to 32 gigs of RAM, and now it has a Quadro P2200 to go along with the i5 6500 CPU. And even though those aren't very crazy specs, you really don't need much power to do everything I do with the server. And for this video, I'm actually going to be using the ZimaBoard 2. While this video isn't sponsored, the Ice Whale team sent out the latest ZimaBoard for me to mess around with, and you can watch me unbox it over on the second channel, Jake64. It's a very compact single board computer with an Intel N150 CPU, and it even has a PCIe 3.0 slot on the side for expansion. Mine is the 832 variant, meaning it has 8 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM and 32 gigabytes of flash storage on the board for the operating system. Speaking of which, you can run any operating system you want, but this comes with the premium version of Zima OS. They also sent out the drive cage and the other attachments that I added onto this, but those are sold separately. After struggling a little bit to physically set it all up, I plugged it into a screen to get the IP address and put that IP address into my laptop. From there, it was incredibly easy to get set up with a login and add my drives. Initially, I was thinking I would change the OS to TrueNAS scale because that's what I'm used to, but ZimaOS is actually super clean and beginner friendly that I decided to just roll with it. But let's finally get to the games part of this. Though I do want to start off with saying, I'm not super well versed in all this stuff. I'm not really that great with software. So this is not a tutorial, but rather me showing off what's possible with a NAS in gaming and, sharing my experience because it's not all smooth sailing. In my last video, I modded my original Xbox with Project Stellar Plus, and it was super easy to connect my console to my game server. I just connected my Xbox to the network via Ethernet, turned on the Net ISO setting, added my network share, and bam! There were all my games. Can I play them? No, because that feature is turned off in this current firmware update. But once that feature is eventually added back in a future update, I should be able to just click any game I want to play and play it, and do all of that without having to upgrade my hard drive or anything like that. I can also just drag and drop game files into the server whenever I get a new game, and it'll just pop up in the games list on my Xbox. I don't need to remove my hard drive, use a flash drive, or even an FTP server to get it on my Xbox. It's awesome, or at least it will be when the feature is re-enabled. Can you tell I'm still a little salty about that? The next console I tried was my PS2. A lot of people will just add a hard drive to the fat PS2, but the Slim doesn't get that option. Sure, you could just use a flash drive on those slow USB ports, or use an SD card adapter in the memory card slot. But with a single Ethernet cable, I can connect any PS2 to my game server and actually get better load times in-game than using the disk drive. Just gotta share your PS2 games folder via Samba so your PS2 can actually see it. Make sure you have the correct folder layout and add your IP to your OPL settings. Then play your games till your Kingdom Hearts content. That was cheesy. But like I said, the Ethernet port on the PS2 has the second highest bandwidth of all the ports on the PS2, coming only second to the hard drive on the fat console. But even then, it's only slightly behind in load times and still crushes FMVs, no problem. And it'll work way better than the USB port will. And it also does outperform the memory card slot. Next up was the PS3. Like all the other consoles, you will need to do a software mod of some sort and install the Webman package. From there, you can type in your IP address in the setup, save the settings, and just restart your console, and then all of your games will show up in the Webman Games folder, assuming you did it right. However, there is one more thing you have to do for the PS3 that none of the other consoles require. You need to install an app on your server called PS3 NetServe. And if you're using ZimaOS like me, the app is not on the App Store, so you'll need to install it via Docker. It's a little more daunting, but once it's installed, your games should show up in your Webman Games folder. Like with the PS2, running the games off of the server is a little slower than off the hard drive, but again, this makes it so you don't have to upgrade your PS3's hard drive to fit all of your games. And since PS3 games are a lot bigger than PS2 games, I think it's worth it. From there, I wanted to get a little crazy with it. I have a Windows PC, a Steam Deck, and a MacBook. What if I had a centralized Steam library that could be accessed by all of my computers? Fun fact, in high school, somebody put CSGO onto the school's server, and we could all play CSGO when the teachers weren't looking. I was kind of shocked that it never got deleted from the shared drive, but it was legendary. So because of that, I knew it was possible. But CSGO is really easy to run. Could something like this handle bigger AAA titles? I installed a small indie game, a little to the left, an older AAA game, 2013's Tomb Raider, and probably the hardest to run game that I own on Steam, God of War from 2018. Honestly, nothing felt slow to me across all three games on all three computers. I mean, God of War doesn't work on Mac, but hopping between my Steam Deck and my PC felt great. The worst part to me was having to change the graphic settings every time I swap between my PC and my Steam Deck, because my PC can run it at maxed out settings at 1080p, but my Steam Deck has to run it at minimum settings. The coolest part to me is I don't even have to be connected to Ethernet for this to work. And I honestly haven't noticed a difference between running it with Ethernet and running it on Wi-Fi, which is great for me because I live in an apartment that doesn't have Ethernet in the walls, even though it's a brand new freaking apartment building. And unless your networking speeds are too slow, you really won't notice a difference. Though I would like to make it very clear, you will definitely see much higher performance if you download it straight to a PCIe 3.0 M2 SSD or better. To match even SATA SSD speeds, you would need 5 or 10 gigabit Ethernet. However, when I say performance, I mostly mean load times. The only time running Steam games off of a server would perfect like FPS would be in big open world games like Spider-Man or Cyberpunk. And that would really only slow down when you're trying to load more of the map as you're swinging or driving through the city across long distances. Unfortunately, I don't own either of those games on Steam to test that, so I don't truly know how bad it could get. The last benefit that I see for this use case is if you live with other gamers that are in your Steam family. So not only can you share your Steam games, you can share the download of those games with each other. So if my girlfriend wants to play God of War on her PC, she doesn't have to wait to download it. She can just open it up because it's already downloaded to the server and we're in the same Steam family. And we can use the space that it would take up in our internal drives for other things. Going back to consoles, the reason why I wanted to do this in the first place was because I've already maxed out my GameCube's SD card. The GameCube does not have a built-in Ethernet port, but there was an add-on for Ethernet back in the day. It just costs a lot of money now. And I was originally wanting to do this video earlier this year when I made all of those Ethernet to GC adapters. The problem with those ones are they're not fast enough to run game files. So that's why I ended up pivoting to 8-player Mario Kart. And to my knowledge, there aren't any other aftermarket Ethernet adapters that will work with my server. So my options are the DOL15 attachment or buying myself a flippy drive, which they are about the same price, crazily enough. And I may or may not have just ordered that. So get subscribed to watch that review when I finally get my hands on it, hopefully soon. But for now, I can't really show off how it works on the GameCube. Apparently, on the Dreamcast, you can convert the phone line to Ethernet with a Raspberry Pi and use it with your server that way. But I don't have enough Dreamcast games to really justify doing all that and connecting it to my server. Maybe in the future, but for now, watching MVG's video is good enough for me. For the Xbox 360, you unfortunately can't use the bad update mod to connect to a server, but you can do it through an RGH modded console, but I don't have one of those, so oh well. Again, maybe in the future. As far as the other consoles like the Wii, Wii U, PSP, and Vita, you can transfer files between those consoles and your server, but you can't play the game files directly from the server. It can still be nice for transferring files, but you still need some sort of internal or external storage drive to actually house those files. That's about all you can do with original console hardware, but what if you're more into emulation? Well, this is actually something I've been doing for years with iCloud and my iPhone. I've had most of my ROM library on iCloud, so I can play all of my retro catalog in Delta and have easy access to save files from any of my devices. And now I have all that set up locally on my server, and I use Tailscale to access it when I'm not home. I love it because my ROMs and saves aren't taking up precious space on my phone or my MacBook, which both have limited internal storage that is not upgradable. And this is more useful now than ever, since phones can do so much more than Super Nintendo and Game Boy emulation. This also isn't just limited to iPhone or even Android. You saw me do this on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS with Steam games. You can do this with a lot of those emulation handhelds, since they're pretty much just Android phones, Linux machines, or even mini PCs. The biggest downside of this is the cost of hardware these days. I greatly appreciate that Icewell sent out the ZimaBoard 2 for me for free, but this is a $340 device before you even touch a hard drive. And don't even get me started on hard drive prices. As awesome as this little board is, you can get a used Optiplex like mine that is about the same performance for a quarter of the price. And if you have an old computer or laptop lying around, or even a Raspberry Pi, you can do this without buying new hardware. It's just not going to be as compact and probably not as feature rich as the ZimaBoard will, because that has dual 2.5 gig Ethernet. And I think that's the fastest Ethernet port that I own. And though hard drive prices suck right now, if you don't already have ample storage space in all of your consoles, it might make more sense to buy a few hard drives for a NAS than a bunch of smaller drives for each individual device. Plus, depending on the configuration you use, you won't lose all of your data if one of your drives fail. This definitely isn't for everybody, and this shouldn't be the only reason you build a NAS. But I felt like I needed to share this since every other YouTuber is focused on ditching subscription services. That's not a dig, because I love my Jellyfin, and I think my next project is Pi-hole. But please don't use Pi-hole when you're watching my videos, or just buy a modded console t-shirt or something else from my website, retroremaster.com, to show your support that way instead. But what do you guys think about all of this gaming server NAS nonsense? Maybe I'm just too obsessed with my server to see that this isn't really that practical of an application, or maybe I've spent so much time working on this project that I'm just starting to doubt myself because I never spend this much time and effort on a project. Let me know what you think in those comments down below. But I think that's about it for this one. So like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. How long has the video been over for? I hope not that long.